told that all of these riots and all of this political change is because of the murder of George Floyd. But it just came out this week that everything we've been told about the death of George Floyd was a lie. So after nearly 3 months of riots, 3 months of virtue signaling, and 3 months of changing the very fabric of our country, it has finally come out that all of it was for nothing and is based on lies. Shocker. In May of this year, a video went super viral, you may have seen it, showing Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin with his knee on the neck of a man named George Floyd, who died after screaming, "I can't breathe." The city of Minneapolis erupted into a war zone overnight as Black Lives Matter rioters honored Floyd's life by burning down and looting hundreds of businesses. The city became indistinguishable from third world countries, and many of these businesses are still boarded up and destroyed months later. After Democrats across the country saw what protesters were able to get away with in Minneapolis, they mimicked these riots elsewhere across the country until it became so widespread that no one could do anything about it. Months later, cities are defunding their police forces, corporations are discriminating against white people, and professional sports teams are changing their names to give the mob everything they want. Our country has changed so much over the last couple of months that it's hard to even recognize it anymore. I have so many opinions that I want to say about George Floyd and say about these riots, but I can't say them all here on social media because of big tech. Which is why you need to go to libertyhangout.tv right now to see my full, uncut opinions about these controversial topics. So nearly 3 months after the death of George Floyd, liberals are still causing violence and chaos across the country, and top Democratic leaders are acting like it's not even happening.
Do you disavow the violence from Antifa? That's happening in Portland right now? There's riots.
That's a myth that's being spread only in Washington, D.C.
About Antifa in Portland?
Yes.
Sir, there's videos everywhere online.
Wow. Not only have they been causing so much havoc on the streets, but they've used Floyd's death as a catalyst to overthrow our system of government and change society as we know it. For instance, it was recently reported that Democrats are seeking reparations for slavery that would cost $6.2 quadrillion. Yeah, you heard that right, quadrillion. According to the World Atlas, there is only even $37 trillion in the world. So Black Lives Matter wants you to pay them 167 times the amount of all the global wealth. That's insane. Now, I don't want to bore you guys too much about stuff you probably already know, so I want to get back to talking about George Floyd. Because we've been told that all of these riots and all of this political change is because of the murder of George Floyd. But it just came out this week that everything we've been told about the death of George Floyd was a lie. I don't know why it took so long, but after nearly 3 months, body cam footage from the police officers was finally released. It completely contradicts the narrative that you've been told about the death of George Floyd. The narrative that we've been sold was that Officer Chauvin and the other obviously self-hating cops, which if you're not blind, you'll notice are not white, were on a mission to go kill an innocent black man because they are so racist. So they pulled up to a grocery store and harassed this gentle giant named George, threw him on the ground, dug their knees into his neck, and murdered him in cold blood. We've also been told that Mr. Floyd over here, or St. George as some are calling him, was a family man with a rich history of respecting women and the unborn. Despite being a loving father, he loved to travel and spend time away from his wife and kids. In his spare time, he worked as an undocumented pharmacist to help provide for his family, and often had to take extended business trips for that as well. St. George was the ideal father figure and a role model for all Americans to aspire to be. That's why in 2014, he left his family behind in Texas and moved to Minneapolis, so he could start a new life and leave behind his habits of old. This is the narrative that Democrats want you to believe, and I believe this is exactly why they withheld the body cam footage for as long as they have. For months, the only footage we had from the incident was a cell phone video showing Officer Chauvin's knee on George Floyd's neck as his lifeless body was then put into the back of an ambulance. The footage was so gruesome to watch that even the fiercest defenders of the police were calling for the cops to be arrested for murder. The whole entire country was led to believe that this was all there was to the story. But as it turns out, yet again, the Democrats didn't tell you the whole truth. Earlier this week, body cam footage from the George Floyd incident was finally leaked. We're not going to play it here, but if you want to watch me give a breakdown and reaction to it, you'll be able to see that over at libertyhangout.tv. The body cam footage proved once and for all that George Floyd did in fact resist arrest. In fact, he was actively resisting pretty much the whole time. Floyd didn't even want to get out of his vehicle, and from the very beginning of his encounter with the police, he was screaming and crying. In fact, the body cam footage revealed that Floyd was already yelling, "I can't breathe," before officers even restrained him. The officers struggled to get Floyd into the back of the police car as he started to shout, "Y'all, I'm going to die in here. I'm going to die, man. And I just had COVID-19, man. I don't want to go back to that." Interesting to note, real quick, that Democrats think you're evil for going to church or seeing your family right now, but take no issue with Floyd walking around and openly admitting that. Then during his discourse with officers, they point out his erratic behavior and note that it appears he's foaming at the mouth. Then perhaps one of the most telling things about this encounter, it's revealed that Floyd himself requested to be laid on the ground instead of getting into the back of the vehicle. According to the transcripts from the body cam footage, Floyd told officers, "I want to lay on the ground. I'm going to lay on the ground. Oh, I'm coming down. I'm going down. I'm going down." Then when the officers told him to get up, he said, "I'm going down. I'm not going up." And then George told the officers why he was struggling to breathe. He said, "I just had COVID, man. I can't breathe." Then the whole time that Floyd is on the ground, he's screaming and acting exactly the same as he did when the officers were trying to get him in the car. Democrats want you to think the officers crushed Floyd's throat and choked him to death. But the body cam footage and autopsy reports have put a huge dent in that story. I don't know about you guys, but I would not be shocked if these officers are found not guilty. As more evidence comes out, it continues to work against their narrative and not in support of it. So I think the prosecutors are gonna have a really hard time proving this beyond a reasonable doubt. And I think Democrats know this, which is exactly why they withheld this body cam footage from the public. Because they want you to believe a lie, and they want there to be unrest in this country. The fate of our country rests in the presidential election this November, and they will do anything they can to remove Trump from office, even if it means burning down the country over a complete fabrication. And that's what I think this is all about, and why they've kept up this lie for so long. Donald Trump was polling at record highs among African Americans before Floyd's death. So the left had to disgustingly capitalize on the tragic death of a black man in order to manipulate them into thinking police and Republicans are all out to get them. That's why they had to make an issue that race played no part in completely racial, because Black lives only matter to Democrats every 4 years. The entire Black Lives Matter movement is based on a lie, especially when they say it to support George Floyd. The NBA is writing Black Lives Matter on the basketball court, and major cities are painting Black Lives Matter murals on their streets, all over something that wasn't racial in the least. In fact, the body cam footage also reveals that the officers were trying to be very accommodating to Floyd, despite him resisting arrest. When he asked the officers to stay with him because he was scared, they stayed with him. When he told the officers he was claustrophobic, they offered to roll the windows down for him 5 times. Don't just watch the body cam footage, guys, but read the transcript too. It will paint this incident in a whole new light and dispel all the claims that any of this was racially motivated. It will make you realize how truly ridiculous all of these protests are, and how sinister the Democrats are for withholding this footage from the public. The left wants to stoke racial flames so they can win an election, but we can't let them get away with this any longer. Share this video and share the truth before the left makes it illegal to do so. Go to libertyhangout.tv right now to watch Kaitlin Bennett uncensored. Not only will you get to watch exclusive content from me, but you'll get to say you stood for the truth, you stood against radical leftism, and you stood up for America. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to like and share, hit that subscribe button, and click the notification bell so you won't miss any of our videos. If you want to support my work, you can become a patron at patreon.com/KaitlinBennett and receive cool perks like an autographed photo from me in the mail each month. Or you can go to KaitlinBennett.org and get up to 75% off and free shipping on supplements and merchandise to support my work and start living a healthy life. My favorite product is Turbo Force because it gives me all the energy I need to make it through a long day of doing interviews. There are tons of other health supplements you can choose from to keep your body healthy during these uncertain times. And check out the website banned.video to see uncensored content from conservative creators that have been erased from social media.